Perfect. How's your day been?
Day has been good. My day has been very good. It's we're in Norway, so it's usually cold and rainy or snowy. But now the spring has come, so it's sunny outside, and so we're extremely good. And we have a new album out. So
Yes, that just came out on Friday.
Friday, yeah, that's right.
Yes. So far it seems like everybody's really enjoying it, is really excited about it. How does it feel finally having it out? Because you were working, well, I guess you have been working on it during COVID because COVID's still going, but how does it feel to finally have it out?
It's great, and it's so you spend a lot of time and energy into making an album. So when you release it, it's always like I had a good feeling about this album because I really like it myself. So but we got feedback from people around us who are not just necessarily yes people. So I felt pretty confident that it was a good album. But the response from the people who follow our music and buys our music and from the press and everything has been extremely good. So, and of course we don't make music to sort of be popular, but it's always nice when people appreciate what you've done, of course.
Of course,
So it's
yeah.
a good thing.
Yeah, and still doing that in 20 years, it's pretty cool. Not a lot of people are able to accomplish that. So 20 years down the road, you're still making waves. That's waves like in your on your cover is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And I think, yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just, because a journalist I talked to earlier today asked me what are you most proud of in your career of 20 years, and I said that basically the fact that I still think and we get sort of the feedback that we still make vital music, and then we've never had to compromise our music or any of the parts of being in a band. Really, we never really had to compromise. We've always been lucky. We've been on record labels and management that hasn't, of course they try to push on us every now and then on certain subjects that they feel we should be more mainstream in a way, or whatever you want to call it, but we never really had, and I'm very proud of the fact that we still make vital music and that we don't have to compromise. That's important.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like the metal world is overall generally pretty good about that. Obviously we both are probably hold metal dearer to our hearts than other genres. Not that we don't like other genres, but I think that that's something that's really pure about metal, is that it's already so raw and it's already so honest that you don't have to alter much, because that's what people want, right? That's what people are looking for when it comes to metal.
Yeah. And if you do compromise too much and sort of then very often it has the opposite effect, because like you said, it's supposed to be raw, it's supposed to be honest, and like every time when it's like when Jesus, I blacked out there, Judas Priest singer Rob Halford, when he releases a Christmas album, people is like, okay, he's Rob Halford, we'll give him credit for just being Rob Halford, but it's not something you say, oh, that's cool, in this world, that's like, what do you need to make a Christmas album for?
Right. For the metalheads during Christmas time that don't want to listen to the same music that's on the radio. But yeah, for sure, it's not yeah, it's not the same. Absolutely.
Maybe they do at home, with Santa and really rock out to Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Make it festive. So with that, let's turn into the lyrical content. With the lyrics in this album, it has a lot to do with humanity. Do you feel like the inspiration had come from like all the kind of mess that COVID has created, or do you feel like this is something that has just been like on your mind for a long time?
It's been on my mind since as long as I can remember, really. I don't think the COVID really had much to do with it. I think the main reason actually for the fact that the lyrics got a bit darker on this album is basically the music, because I've always said that I don't, I'm not like Bob Dylan or any of like the greater poets. I don't try to sort of preach too much to the world. I don't try to educate people or anything. Well, at least not very much. But I'm more like, I always try to explain my lyrics in the sense that if you go out of your house, if you go to work, or if you go to a party, or if you go to a funeral, you dress differently, And sort of my lyrics are more my way of dressing up the music that we make. So when the music gets a bit harder and a bit more heavy, then the lyrics kind of have to be a bit darker in my head. It sort of, then they dress up better in a way, as opposed to when we did like some of our previous albums that were more lighter in a way and more poppy, and then the lyrics got a bit lighter too. So it has more to do with that, but it has of course a lot to do with the fact that there's so much things that we should have evolved beyond as humans. I think that still hangs around there, how we treat people that we see as different as a menace or a threat. We should have sort of reached a point where it's okay that you don't have the same sexual preferences as I do, but that doesn't matter. You do what you do and I do what I do, and same with like religion or culture or music for that matter. No matter what it is, it's it should be okay to be as we are. And so a lot of the lyrics sort of dwells around that somehow, even though, like I said, I don't write lyrics that are unnecessarily like I'm trying to get a point across here and have to tell you sort of my views exactly. I sort of more use images and also I think words are interesting. I like when I write lyrics, often I just find things that I think sounds really good. I loved. I saw an interview with Tom Araya from Slayer, and the journalist asked him when they released God Hates Us All, and he asked them, "So do you really like believe that God hates us all?" And he's just smiled. Fucking great title, and sometimes that's enough. I think so. A lot of the stuff that I write, I think it just sounds good. It fits the music. It's kind of like the notes and the sounds in the music. Words are part of that. It needs to sort of fit in with the rest.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. On the other side of things, writing is a very therapeutic thing. Do you feel like writing the lighter albums are easier in a way than writing this darker album? Or do you feel like, is there a difference?
Actually, I think almost the other way around, because I'm blessed. I've had a good life. I haven't had major. I've had issues like everyone has that, but I haven't had major issues. I haven't struggled a lot. My life has been pretty blessed in many ways. So to me, to sort of dive into sort of the darker side of human nature is more me trying to understand it, and me trying to sort of peek into something that might not be as close to me in everyday life as opposed to if I write lyrics that are more sort of closer to my life, then it's harder because then I automatically feel that this just sounds silly, because it's very normal,
Mm-hmm.
it's uh, I don't know. I saw also, once again, with references to other people, I saw an interview with Anthony Hopkins where they asked him about Hannibal Lecter and how he could sort of become such a horrible person, and he said that, well, because it's a part of human nature that we struggle to understand. So it's a lot more interesting for me to sort of be that than to be someone who's good and do good things because I can relate to that so easily. So it's not a challenge for me to sort of become that person, but to become Hannibal Lecter is more of a challenge. And it's sort of the same things at play here. It's sort of me diving into something that I find interesting to study in a way.
Right.
You know,
Right. So how did you do that? Like were there like ways of research, or was it just kind of taking a step back and tapping into what you kind of hear and see around you? Did you try to purposely go and look for stories or whatever that might pull that out, or was it just more of like an internal thing?
a bit of both, because sometimes I just sort of sit back and, because even though I said that it's not so close to my personal life, it's still things that I sort of can understand. Everyone can understand how people can commit, will do stupid things or do horrible things. You can sort of understand what brings them there, even though you can't relate to the feeling, basically. But so sometimes I just try to sort of put myself in that situation, and sometimes I just basically do research, because sometimes I read about something or and very often I sort of, when I write melody lines, I just black talk, basically. I just sing stuff because I need words in order to sort of make a melody line, and very often something just sticks, and it might not be, most of it is from your subconscious, because you just sing things. You don't really think about what you're singing, because if you think, then it sort of stops. You just have to sort of float. And sometimes there are things that get stuck, like on this album, that the title track, the chorus, the Devil's Bell, which was like something, when I sang that sentence, and I was like, this sounds good, but then I had to sort of, what is the Devil's Bell? So I had to sort of do research, and very often then when you start reading about it, and then you sort of get inspired, because then you get into something, and you realize, oh shit, there are so many good references here, and there's so many interesting thoughts and ideas and stories, and so you get inspired by that. And so with Devil's Bell, I just had, and it was like, Devil's Bell, I've heard it, but I couldn't really tell what it was, so I had to do research, and I figured out, well, I learned a couple of things. I learned it's a flower. That didn't do it very much for me. Flower, okay, let's sing about flowers. No, but I found a poem called The Inchcape Rock, and I started reading that, and that is sort of a poem about, which basically deals with karma and how you treat other people, and so when I read that, I sort of, then it became like, okay, then I got inspired to write about about how we, well, that song in particular is a lot about how we sort of see other people that we misunderstand or don't understand. And then we see them as a threat. And in you know, in literature and movies and art in general, there's like Nosferatu, and you have Frankenstein's monster, and all of these characters that are basically, when they wrote the story, it wasn't about a monster really. It was basically the same thing. It was them telling us that they trying to make us reflect on how we treat people that we see as different and that we don't understand, you know.
Right. Yeah, I like that. I like that perspective, because it's not something I think a lot of people do take the time to step back and think about, because it's always like the end product, right? What occurs at the end when people are carrying their torches and pitchforks, and you know, and that's what sticks in people's minds versus where the monster was created.
Yeah, and that's sort of something you can sort of see in especially in modern media and social medias, you know, how easily people jump the gun when someone has said something, and then someone else is offended by this or whatever, and then it becomes totally natural to sort of jump on it and just spread hate and through social medias. And because social media it's an amazing thing that, you know, makes it easy for people to stay in touch, and it makes it easy for us to get access to all kinds of entertainment and information and everything. But it's also a fucking monster we have created, you know. Absolutely. So it's sort of, that was sort of a lot that sort of went through my head when I wrote that song, and how we yeah, all of that. It's a monster basically.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that song. It kept getting stuck in my head, and I would have the tune and just like part of the lyrics go in my head, and I kept going, gosh, what is that? Where did I hear that? What is that? But it's super catchy. That's when I know that a song has really grabbed me, when I'm like mowing and I'm like, what is that song that's stuck in my head, you know? So that was one of them. And Animal actually was one of them too. That video is a trip. What was the inspiration behind that video?
You know what, that was I'm glad you liked it, because it was, we made 3 videos with the same guy this time around. We sort of talked to him because when we talked about, when our record label said, okay, here's the budget, you need to do videos, this is what you have to spend, you know. And we talked to him, and we because we talked about who should we talk to, you know, because every time we make a video, sometimes we like in the early days we just used friends basically who knew something about it basically, but then we started working with people who basically knew what they were doing. But I saw the latest video from ABBA, the one called Dream Call, and I really liked it. It looked like black metal gone Game of Thrones, and I just loved it, like images, because it was just like beautiful images in a way. And so as I found out who made it, and I contacted him, and we sent him some songs, and he liked it and he wanted to do it. And then when we talked to him about doing a video, he was kind of like, yeah. We said, but you're doing 3? Well, I can make all 3, he said. So we did that, and the first one sort of was like the one we spent most time and energy on, and then the second one was, we were like, he said that, yeah, I'll just shoot a video of you playing, and we'll cut it into something cool. And then the last one was kind of like, okay, we have to do this a bit cheaper because, you know, because of the budget. So it was basically like couple of days before, I talked to him, and he had an idea, but there were things that made that idea a bit hard to go through with it. And so I listened to the lyrics basically, and the song, and I was like, it has to be like beastie in a way. It has to be animal, obviously.
Right.
Basically, what we did was I got up that morning, and I went to like a toy store, and I bought this fox mask. And I went to his studio, and we just basically fucked it up with ashes and paint and things, and I greased up my hands and all of that. And basically, he just said, "I'm just going to film you and just be as animal as you can." And we cut out the eyes, so you sort of get that like creepy mask, and then you see eyes behind it, because it's always creepy with like human eyes inside something, a mask like that. So basically, we just fucked around with it, and he was like, "Don't think logical. Don't think that you're supposed to do anything," because we did some takes where I just sang the song, and then he was just like, just try to be an animal basically. And I sort of did that, but I thought I tried to be sort of an animal, but in a human body in a way. So I not crawling on all four, but just like being a bit like arrogant. In many ways, it was a fox mask, so I had to be sort of an arrogant fox. So and then he just clipped the whole thing together, and I think it turned out really good, because of the like it's I think we did it in a couple of hours, the whole thing,
Wow.
So it was pretty cool, fun thing to do. It's it's like putting a kid into a toy store. It's like, of course I'll be in.
So where do you have the fox mask now? Did you keep it?
No, he kept it, because he said that he said, every time I make a music video, I always keep one prop from the video shooting, and he hadn't kept anything from the previous ones. So he said, "Can I keep the mask?" And I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it, so by all means keep it. So he has it. He's probably at home scaring his kids or something with it now.
Right.
The wolf's gonna come.
Yeah, it did actually end up pretty creepy. It'd be interesting to see what it looked like before you guys started messing with it, because it definitely turned out pretty creepy. Oh, so you created the artwork on it. I know you've already talked a lot about that. We don't have to really dig into that. It's awesome. It looks great. Was that fun to be able to have that creation as part of, I mean, a part of your musical creation, being able to add the artistic creation?
Yeah, I've done artwork for some of our previous albums too, and I wasn't supposed to do it on this album actually. There was another guy who made an artwork, but there were people within our circle, to put it that way, that didn't like it. I think it looked really good. I liked it. The whole band basically liked it, apart from one guy. But then we were like, okay, people don't like it. Well, it's basically up to us, but then we asked them, well, why don't you like it? And we didn't really get any good answer until one guy basically said that, well, I don't like it because he doesn't tell a story. Which I thought, well, that's a fair point. So, and then someone from the record label asked me if I could do it, and I said, sure, I can do it, but and then I just sat down and said, okay, it doesn't tell a story. Well, what if we go to the opposite? Because the poem that sort of the word Devil's Bell was where it came from, where I found sort of the inspiration for it was in that poem. That's a poem about a bell tower that's been built on a rock because ships keep going aground in storms there. And then at one point, some pirate tears it down because he profits from these ships going down. So, and of course, in the end, this is outside of on the coast outside of Scotland. And of course, at one point, he ends up in a storm, and of course, he drowns there. So the whole karma thing. So I figured, well, if it doesn't tell a story, what if we do something that 100% do tell a story? It basically, I sat down and just tried to illustrate that poem in a way. So, and I think it turned out cool. It's and for me, of course, it's fun to do artwork for us. I do artwork I've done for some of our albums, and I've done it for a lot of our merchandise, and I've done it for many different other bands, album artwork, merchandise, posters, stuff like that. So for me, I love to draw, so I'm happy to do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I have a million other questions for you, but I know we're limited on time. I'll just ask you one more. With you doing this for so long, what is some advice you have for the younger generation of musicians? Obviously, the industry has changed significantly in 20 years. With you still being in the midst of it throughout all these years, what do you feel like would be the best advice for aspiring musicians that are just coming into it?
Well, I could say I saw Liam Gallagher from the Oasis being asked that, and his answer was, "Stay the fuck out of my way." Say that. It
sounds like an answer from him.
Yeah, it does. I think, with the changes that has happened, record sales dropped or basically died. They're on the rising again now, or at least I've heard. Especially vinyls are selling really good now. But the and of course with streaming, there's like people don't necessarily listen to albums that much anymore, which is a thing, I think, because it's like reading like the main, like it's like taking a crime novel and just reading the last chapter. Okay, I know who did it, so I don't have to read the whole book, or I could watch the movie. So that's the sad thing. But the good thing about this is that today kids can record music at home in their bedroom. They can promote it from their bedroom. They can release it from their bedroom. So bands have in many ways got a lot of power back. Not, of course, not, or at least hardly ever to sort of become a huge band that way. But very often it starts out that way, and then a major label discovers them because all of a sudden they have like a gazillion clicks on YouTube and stuff like that. But so I would say, like, my advice would be that, you have the opportunity to create a career on your own terms, basically, as opposed to earlier where sort of the record label went out and found someone and then sort of took them and said that, okay, I'm going to make you a big star, but then you have to dress like that and you have to drop the drummer. He doesn't look good enough. And then you have to, and all of these things. But now you sort of can reach a level where the record label will need you as you are, because you're already starting to become big based on what you've done and decided yourself, So I would say that is sort of the thing that I would do if I started today. I would say that I have a chance to sort of make something that is mine and that is unique for me, and then if 500 people likes it, then that's cool, then I have like a small career and I can do this on my part-time and really enjoy it. But if I become like, if it takes me to a higher level, then you already sort of define what took you there, so I think it's not just a bad thing. There are it's like I said about social medias, it's a lot of good things about it. It's just that there are some crappy sides too,
Mhm.
and then same with like streaming and all of that. So
Yeah.
I would say,
Yeah, as much as music saves us, it's so unfortunate how financially what's the word, how you guys are not repaid financially for saving so many people, for being such a saving grace that the whole world can enjoy. It's one of the most powerful and most important things, and it's not rewarded the way that it should be. um Thank you so much, Toshi, for taking your time. I hope that the next interview goes really well and you are able to enjoy the rest of your day.
oh, I will. It was really nice talking to you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
And have a good evening. Well, you're in America. Where are you now? What time is it at your place?
It is 1 o'clock p.m. in the afternoon. So I'm about in the middle of my day. I am a therapist, so I had clients before. I have clients after. I'm right in the middle of my work day. So I will definitely enjoy the evening once it comes, though.
So, okay. It was nice talking to you.
Same to you, Toshi.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.